Hello, friends. Nice to be back on viewing again with you on live. Today, my friends, I'm going to talk about mediumship and platform work. But I've got to start off, my friends, by going back right at the beginning. Because, my friends, let me explain to you first of all, not many people know this, but you know, when it comes to an open circle, years ago, an open circle was introduced into the churches because just after the First World War, a lot of people had lost their loved ones into the realms of spirit. And they came into the church and they were searching for answers. They were searching to find out their loved ones had gone into the realms of spirit. And what was noticed by those within the church, the reputable mediums of the day, they noticed there was a lot of gifted people out there who just needed to be nurtured, who needed to be brought forward. And what they did, they decided to run open circles basically for those that are gifted, so that they could nurture the gift, so that they then would become potential mediums to work upon the platform. And that's what we should be doing today. We should be in our circles, not just having circles for anybody to give messages. It's for those that are running the circles to see potential mediums, those that have got the gift, nurture that gift out of them and start to help them to come forward, so that they can then, in turn, once they've developed enough to go upon the platform to serve God and Spirit. Now, I'm saying all of this to you, my friends, because you see, over the years, I have noticed when it comes to mediumship, the standards of mediumship has gone down. And I'm saying this not to be rude, not to be disrespectful, but we come into church, we're open to find the standards of a good medium on the platform. And I'm going to explain to you of how I came into the movement, then how I was nurtured, then how I came to working on the platform. And you'll understand all of this, my friends, because you see, the reason I'm bringing all of this out is because everybody is rushing today to become a medium. Everybody is rushing to give messages. Well, I'm going to tell you, I came into the movement in 1974, and I was being nurtured by one of the finest mediums ever, Mrs. Marjorie Backus. And I said nurtured because, you see, when I came into the church, although I'd seen spirit all my life, although I connected and everything, I didn't understand why I was given this gift. But Marjorie, she took me under her wing. And every week I would be at the circle. I would sit there religiously. And you know, what happens is a medium who's running a circle, they should know who the gifted ones are. Because you know, those that have got the gift, those that can definitely work connecting with spirit, not psychically, but working with spirit, those in control will see the white aura. Excuse me, they would see the white aura, the white light that would stand out, the energies from them. And instead of just letting them sit there, come in and go out and miss the opportunities, they would wait till the end of a circle, then go to them, speak to them, encourage them to come back into the church again and sit within the circle. And slowly but surely, they'd nurture them. And I said nurture, not teach. And it does happen, it does not happen overnight. It can take years. But at the end of the day, if they've been nurtured naturally, they will develop in a true spiritual way. Now, friends, as I said, I'm not here to insult people. I'm not here to belittle anyone. But you go into church today and you look at your mediums, there's too many asking questions rather than connecting with the loved ones that have come forward. And a person that's sitting in the congregation, they shouldn't have to sit and tell them everything that's going on. A medium that knows how to connect, how to link with spirit, should give directly to them. So the person who's receiving the message should be able to walk out of the church so full of life, so full of energy, knowing that what they've received has come from their loved ones. And this is what I want to say to you, friends. This was me. This was me. Marjorie brought me into the church. Please forgive me. I do apologize. Marjorie brought me into the church and she nurtured me, but she would not allow me, I do apologize, friends, I've got a little tickly come on. Once again, I apologize, friends. Marjorie would not allow me to get up and give a message until she knew that I was connecting properly. And believe me, she was very strict. And this is what we need back into our ism, the nurturing and also being strict. Because when they do this, my friends, this is when you're going to see nurturing done properly. This is when you're going to see those that will develop in a true spiritual way. Now, my friends, I'm going to explain another thing to you. It was 5 years of going into the church, sitting into the circles before Marjorie even said, Barry, I'm going to take you to the churches I serve. I want you to sit on the platform, not to give a message. I want you to sit on the platform and I want you to feel the energies, learn to sense the energies, feel the energies of what's being brought towards you. Because the energies within the congregation are completely different to the energies that are on the platform. Because you see, your congregation is sending all that love, sending all that energy towards you. And this is where you then start to connect. You start to feel the vibrations. And Marjorie took me around the churches, as I said, for quite some years. And then one day she said to me, I'm going to allow you to give one message. That's all I want you to do. Give one message. Oh, believe me, I was a nervous wreck. I was shaking like mad because I didn't know whether I'd be able to prove my worth and serve God in spirit. But this particular day, I stood up and I gave out a message. And as I was giving the message to a gentleman, I said, I've got your mother here. Your mother, you loved music. She loved to play the piano because when she did, it made her feel at peace with herself. And this is what she's bringing to you, bringing you peace, because you see, she wants you to listen to the music to calm your inner spirit so that you can build yourself back up again. Can you understand it? He said, no. Like a shot, I sat straight down. I was frightened to death. Then Marjorie said, don't you dare sit down. You get up, young man. And she stood at the side of me and she went to the gentleman. She said, young man, she said, Our brother has just given you a message and you said you cannot take it. That's true. But your mother's in spirit, yes. And your mother played the piano, yes. And you played the piano, yes. And when you're feeling low, you love to play the piano to relax yourself and bring you down into that of the calmness. Yes, that's what he's just said. And she had a real good go at him. And that gave me confidence. And I used to go round to other churches with Marjorie. And the one thing that Marjorie always said to me, never become too cocky, never become too complacent. What you need to do, you need to go to other churches. You ought to see other mediums. And I want you to watch those mediums. I want you to watch how they stand, watch how they move, watch how they're dressed, listen to the voice, listen to the way they're projecting. Because you've got to rise to their standards. And the one thing she always said to me, she said, Barry, when it comes to doing platform work, she said, remember this, it's important. When you're giving a message to the person on the front row, you've got to project your voice, not shout, not be overpowering and too loud, but project your voice so the person at the back of the room can hear the message that's being given. Because otherwise, if you've lost them for the service. And she said, come on. She said, let's get on with it. Let's start doing this. And we did. And believe me, there were many a times I saw fantastic mediums, and I mean fantastic mediums. And as much as I loved Marjorie, as much as I loved the way she worked and everything, there were mediums I kept saying, oh, I'd love to work like them. I'd love to be up on the platform serving in the same way. And after the service, I would talk to Marjorie. That's what we want. That's what you've got to do. You want to be someone. You don't want to be just you. You always look for the highest. You raise your bar even further. And then she said to me, she said, but what else did you notice? I said, what do you mean? She said, what did you think to their appearance? Well, I'm going to explain to you. Going back in the day, they don't do it today, and I'm sorry to say it, half of them, their appearances are disgraceful. I'm saying this because, you see, it's not the medium's fault, it is the church's fault. They've let the standards go. Because, you know, a gentleman that came up on the platform, the medium, their attire was always of a smart suit and a tie. And let's be honest, friends, anybody that knows, that has any kind of sense, will tell you this. We as ordinary people, when we see a person that's wearing a suit, wearing a tie, automatically we look at them as as having a higher standard, because we look at those as though they're important. There's somebody that has got a standard, and that's what we want to aim for. As she said, that's what you've got to do, Barry. When you get on the platform, make sure you wear a suit and tie so people know that that's you, the medium, because you're important when you're on there. Young ladies, they always look smart, and I've got to admit, a lot of the young ladies on the platform today look beautiful and smart. So I won't say anything against them, because you see, they tend to be, shall I say, more adaptable in the sense of dress than men. But it is a case of today you go to church, they're wearing a shirt, they're wearing a t-shirt, they're wearing jeans. They're not putting anything that's saying, look at me. Because all I look at and think to myself is, what are you doing up there? For God's sake, do something with yourself. And that brings the energies down even further. So you see, I'm not going to say this is what I want. I would like the churches to turn and say to the mediums, We want standards in our church. We want to see you come in a suitable attire. Do you know, I went to a church, my friends. I'm going back a couple of years ago, and I had a three-piece suit on and I had my tie on, and it was one of the hottest days of the year. And I was sweating like a good one. And a lady said to me, "Why don't you take your coat off?" And I said, "I can't." She said, "Why not?" I said, "Because I've not had the permission from the committee, from the president to do so. You don't just go and take your coat off and stand there and just feeling the energies of relaxation. Remember the standards, and that's what you've got to see." So you see, there were two things that Marjorie pointed out to me. And then the other was, look how they're standing. Well, I'm going to be honest, friends. When you see a reputable medium, one that's serving the church and has done in a proper way for years, they stand up straight. They look directly at you. And I'm talking about male and female here. They look directly at you. And they know exactly where they're going. They don't stand there and say, "Oh, now let me see where I've got to go. Who have I got to go to next?" Because, you know, I've heard this so many times, my friends. You know, people turn and say, because they're a medium on the platform, when they've done one message, they have to wait for spirit to come through and connect with them. No, they don't. I will tell you, friends, straight out. If a medium is linking with spirit, spirit is queuing up to come forward. And believe me, once that message has been given to the one person, the next spirit is there ready to jump in to take over. No ifs, ands, or buts. They're there waiting. And this was what we called the mediumship of true connection, where they would go directly, one after another. And believe me, mediums do that. There's some real good ones out there, and I can honestly say, those that I do know, I'm very proud to say they are good. And I could give you a list of names of what I call genuine mediums. But I could also give you a list of those I would like to put in a bag and give a damn good shaking up to and say, "Come on, what are you playing at?" Because you know, the people, when they walk through the door, they automatically judge. As soon as they see the medium, they judge them. And if they see them like slobs, they'll think they're slobs. If they see you in proper attire, they will respect you and they will send the love and everything to you. And then Marjorie always used to say, "But did you listen to the philosophy?" Yes, philosophy is very important, friends, because you see, when you give philosophy, you speak of what you know, not what you don't. You don't read out of a book, you give what's in your heart. And do you know, my friends, when I speak off the platform, I speak openly. I speak about my experiences, and I speak about my feelings, and I speak about the standards. And you know, people come to me and say, "Barry, why can't we have more mediums like you that are open and honest?" Because you see, the one thing you've got to remember is this, friends. When you're on the platform and you're giving an address, once you've got the people listening, you've got them in your hands. And when you've got them in your hands, you've got them for the rest of the service. But when you talk about something you don't know, that they don't understand, it goes over their head. And the energies then within the churches go flat. So you see, I've also learned another thing there from Marjorie. And then she said, "Barry, did you listen to the prayer?" And I've got to admit, I love prayers. I love prayers because they're the simplest things that anybody can do. And yet, half the mediums today, they don't know how to say a prayer. Well, I'm going to tell you what a prayer is. A prayer is from the heart. It's how you feel. It's not that you've got to expand on everything. A simple prayer is just by asking God and Spirit to draw within the temple of love, to allow Spirit to bring proof and truth, to allow those of the healing angels to come and bring healing to those that are on their beds of sickness. A 2-minute prayer is better than a 20-minute prayer that has nothing. So always remember, friends, never say you can't say a prayer, because you can. And you put the whole lot together, and that makes you someone that knows what they're doing, makes you realize when you're on that platform, you're there, you're outstanding to the congregation. And do you know when a medium is working? A medium will always know where they've got to go if they work in a true spirit way. Now, I've got to explain to you, my friends, why I'm saying this. Because you see, Marjorie used to say to me when I sat on the platform, what did you see where the congregation were concerned? What did you feel? What did you sense? And I used to say to her, you know, Marjorie, when I sit upon the platform, I see like a little silver cobweb, a thread of light that would go to a certain person. And she said, that is your connection. That is your connection. She said, you go along with that silver thread and you give what you sense, you give what you feel, and you give what you see. Because, you know, friends, it's important to know that you've got the connection. And Marjorie used to say to me, my connection, she said, I used to see like a halo over the head. That's when I knew I'd got to connect with that being. And she said, you know, Barry, she said, you've seen me work. How often did I stop? How often did I dither? How often was it that I turned around and said, I can't connect? And I said, Marjorie, not once, not once, because she knew the connection. I'm talking like this, friends, and yes, I know I'm going to offend one or two people, but I don't mind doing that if they listen, because at the end of the day, this is all about making people aware that when they come into the spiritual movement, it's all about connection, sensing, feeling. I had to go through a lot of nurturing, and I mean a lot of nurturing, before I could even say that I could class myself as a fledgling. And you know, when the day came that Marjorie said to me, this is your turn to go on your own, she said, but I'll tell you, it'll take 5 years before you can prove that you are a spiritualist medium. 5 years. And I said, why? She said, because that's how long it takes to connect truly in the sense of fullness. And it's your congregations that will tell you if you are good or whether you're bad, whether you're sincere, whether you're genuine, your congregations. And she said, if you see your congregations dropping off, that's the time to start to worry. And let's be honest, friends, you ask your churches, you ask your committee, you ask your congregation what they see in today. I'll tell you what they're seeing today. There's less and less people coming into the church. There's less and less coming in because the standards of mediumship is not as it should be. And this is why I speak as I do, friends, because you see, at the end of the day, I've served Spirit for 44 years, and I've given my all. And what I want to see, what everybody wants to see, is these mediums on the platform giving their all, giving their life to Spirit. Because you see, a medium, these are very important words, friends, a medium that is true and sincere is a servant of God, a servant of Spirit, and we're there to serve. We're not there to do anything other but to serve. And you know, I get the pleasure of serving, because you know, when I do, I go to the lovely churches, I meet some beautiful people, and I found some fantastic friends through spiritualism. Because you see, this is another thing we get today, and unfortunately, it shouldn't be. And that is, mediums come to serve, they walk through the door, and as soon as it's over, take the money, they're gone. No. Find time to talk afterwards. Find time to mix with the congregation, the people. Find time to listen to their comments. Listen to what they feel. And yes, some of them will turn around and say to you, well, I didn't think much to this, I didn't think much to that. But that then wakes you up, and you sit up, you take note, and you try and say, I've got to change. I've got to deal with that. I've got to sort that. And this is what it's all about, friends. Being a medium on the platform means standards. And that's what I'm talking about today. Learning to connect in a true spiritual way. Some of you may turn around and say, I find all of this offensive. Well, if you find it offensive, I will tell you, you're not up to the standards. You're not, and you ought to look at yourselves. Because you see, well, I sit in the congregation, I do, friends, and I will tell you, you'd be surprised how many times I've sat in the church and I've sat in the congregation. The mediums on the platform, not connecting whatsoever in a proper spiritual way. And the people are looking at the hymn books, looking at the telephones, sending messages. The only messages that should ever be coming is from the platform, from the medium, and they should be connected in a true spiritual way. And yes, I've got to say this, friends. You know, the churches today are beginning to wake up. They're beginning to wake up because they've let standards go. And I've got to say, even in my own church, years ago, I never heard the word nurtured in that church. But they're bringing the word nurturing back into it. And they're bringing back the old ways of the standards within the church itself. And people are starting to come back in. That's what it's all about. You know, I'll tell you this as well, friends. You know, the one thing that's gone, biggest majority of things that's gone today, is the faith. Faith, your religion. We don't go to church because we don't want the religious side of it. Well, let me tell any of you, when you go into a spiritualist church, they don't stand there preaching about religion. They open in prayer, they say the Lord's Prayer, they do the philosophy. Yes, some have hymns, but then the rest is all about connecting with spirit. Religion doesn't come into it. I don't stand on a platform and say, you've got to be, you've got to do, you've got to. When I speak of myself, my faith. I don't think that anyone should have to be told what religion they should be in, or if they should have a religion. It's a case of God welcomes all into our temples, into our churches, whether you believe or whether you don't. And you know, friends, I'll say this to you because I think it's important. Do you know me? Do you know what I love? I love a skeptic. I love a doubting Thomas. Do you know why? Because those that doubt, those that are skeptics, when they receive from Spirit and they get the truth from Spirit, they cannot deny it, because a doubting Thomas always finds the truth. And you know, friends, this is what it's all about. Come into the church. Let's see the mediums. Let's see the standards. Let's see everything come back in. And let's see the true connections with Spirit. And then, you know, all these doubters, they never doubt again. Do you know what I've often said, friends? Do you know years ago, you would go into a spiritualist church, if you weren't there in time for the service, you wouldn't get a seat. It would be packed. Today, the churches are 3/4 empty. What we need to do as mediums is go back to the beginning and start again as it should be, working with Spirit, connecting with Spirit, bringing back the standards, and saying to the people, we are here to serve. That is important. You know, friends, I've learned a lot over the years, and I mean, I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning today. I never came into the ism and sat for 6 weeks, 6 months, and then I'm a psychic medium who thinks they know everything that knows nothing. 44 years I've been serving, 44 years I've been learning, and I'm still learning today, because I don't class myself as a medium. I class myself as a fledgling, because I'm learning day by day and I'm gaining greater knowledge. Here's something I'm going to put out to you, friends. Ask yourself this: how many of you in prayer ask the Spirit of the highest to come and use you? How many of you within prayer at night before you go to bed ask that the good Lord take your spirit within to the school of learning, that you can gain knowledge of truth, that you can share with your brothers and sisters of the earth? I do it. I do it regular. And you know, sometimes I think to myself, God and Spirit must get fed up of listening to me. But they answer me. They do answer. Because every Friday night on Zoom, and if you go on to Barry Potter, Spiritualist Medium, you'll find the connection there. We do a questions and answers where I go into trance. And when you connect and you come into the group, the young man, Kyle Anderson, who runs the group, asks if you want to ask a message of Spirit. He doesn't want to know the message, the question. All he wants is your name. And then when it comes to your time, you talk directly to the Spirit that's there. You speak and ask your 2 questions. And once everybody else has done theirs, if you've got on 2, you can do that as well. So you see, I've got to admit, my friends, I watch those videos afterwards. And, you know, I find myself saying, my God, where did those words come from? I've learned something. And I've learned because it's come directly from Spirit. No one's taught me anything. They've all nurtured me. God, give me a gift. Now, I've spoken the way I am, my friends, and I hope that some of you will take it on board and start to look and learn that you've got to, first of all, be true to God, but most of all, true to yourself. because you've got to know yourself inside out. Because you know, when spirit connects with you, they get to know you inside out. They know your faults and everything. They know your ailments and everything. Yet they know how to use you. So those who turn around and say, but I work this way, I work that way. Well, I'm going to say to you, the first thing you need to do is get back into an open circle and learn to connect truly with spirit, so that when you're serving God, you're doing it a true spiritual way. Now, my friends, I'm going to leave it there. This is the 5th one I've done. Next time I come on, I'm going to be talking about trance. And I'm going to be talking about trance, not transfiguration, not materialization. There's a big difference in it, which I will explain to everyone. But I will tell you, I'll be talking about trance, and I'll be talking how you as a medium, if wanting to connect with spirit, how it's truly done. Friends, if I have offended you, good. Because it means you're sitting up, you're taking notice, you're listening. And that's all I want you to do. God bless you all, friends. Good night.